Welcome to Making Awesome, episode 9. It's the boys again today, and today's kind of a momentous day. If you are listening to us audio only, you're gonna miss out on some stuff. I mean, really, at this point, we're all of our episodes. If you're listening audio only, you might have had a bad time, but that's okay.
They're very visual heavy.
This one is absolutely visual heavy. This is a follow-up from a couple of weeks ago for our branding podcast, where Tomas talked all about how much our branding sucked. If you're watching us on YouTube or on 3dmusketeers.com, you can see that things look, well, they look a little different. We've got now a nice overlay. We've got a professional streaming thing, hopefully, if I've figured out how to record it correctly. We've got like a little text ticker and some different things and a new logo. And that's pretty freaking huge. So, Tomas, talk to us about branding. But before we do that, we have to talk about the supporter of this podcast, 3D Musketeers. 3D Musketeers is here to take your ideas to reality, art to part, product development consultancy services that help take the ideas out of your mind and put them in your hand. If you have a business that has a particular painful problem, there it is. See these P's? The alliteration is tough today. If you have one of those problems, give us a freaking call. We can help you out. The information is going around your screen, is also in the description down below. Tomas, take it away for us.
Cool.
What do you got, dude?
Yeah, so I mean, as far as, I guess, people already have seen what the final product is, I guess, if they're, viewing this.
If they're watching us, yes, they've kind of seen some of it.
So we're going to talk about kind of the Making Awesome logo and kind of what the process went into it. So to give you some more like background on this, when I was working with Grant on this logo and image, he basically just said, do whatever you want. So there was a lot, there wasn't a lot of like actual, for me, it took me actually not very long to get to what I wanted to do because I already had it in my head. And I wanted to do a monogram, which is, the 2 letters of the podcast, because those are cool and stylish. And we did it in Clarendon, which is the typeface that we use for some other things now as well. So
it's coming in.
Let me show you kind of the process.
Same way that with, when we work with product development customers, when, Tad is on a design job, when, and when Tomas is, on a 2D design thing, it's not just about that end product. It's about the journey that got you there, because that's so important to understand that journey, the risks that were taken and why. So Tomas,
it doesn't just come out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah. So the thing that always comes down to, I think making logos is probably one of the hardest things you can do as a designer a lot of the time, because you're making something for someone that's really important to them, and that needs to represent them. And so that can be really difficult. And you're also trying to gain attention of people in a market and, stand out and everything. So I wanted to do something that was kind of poppy and, a little funky, which, and also, but reminiscent of like 3D printing, because that's what this podcast is really stemming from, and making things. And it's like this really physical, tangible thing. So
you mean making awesome things.
Making awesome.
Yeah.
Come on, branding guy. Jeez.
So that's marketing. So when it came down to it, I knew I wanted to do 3D type somehow, just because I thought it would be super fun. And quirky in a good way, and I wanted bright colors eventually, and I wanted to make it reminiscent of 3D printing. And so I took all this type and I typed out the full name of Making Awesome, which was really heavy, and I thought maybe there was a way for us to actually do the full name originally, but after I kind of started the initial sketches, which these are, I quickly came to the conclusion that it had to be a monogram, and that we would just have some supporting text underneath. Like Making Awesome podcast with an MA. So
certain sad dog has entered the space.
So what I kind of then started doing was, I was like, do I really even need the 3D pieces, or can I just like separate out these like face plates? So a bunch of weird stuff went into it, and then I started cleaning up the illustration. I, by the way, did a lot of looking at how this should be oriented, and settled kind of on like a facing up because in my knowledge of 3D printing currently, that's how this might be printed, would be
Yes.
the flattest possible. So I would thought that like this angle is reminiscent of 3D printing because you're like looking down at the product that you're printing
I
typically
love it.
on the
You
bed.
pay attention.
So
That's what makes
yeah,
him good, Grant.
so
You know, oddly, we could print it standing up. And
Mhm.
honestly, yeah, with decent cooling, you could do it without any support material. But unless your printer could not handle it laying down for whatever reason, laying down is the right way to print it.
Right.
Yeah, and so I remember that kind of being a thing, and I, you know, this is again like a logo that's about 3D printing, but we're not doing a logo that's representational because we're doing a monogram, right? So we're not doing like a logo of a 3D printer that says "Making Awesome" on it. And I also feel like what an MA does for us is it frees this podcast up to be about making awesome and not necessarily just 3D printing.
Yep.
You're
But
not
it's
just tied down to it.
yeah, but it's, you know,
Yep.
stemmed from and part of a 3D printing, you know, business. And
Bingo.
that's like, and so
That
it
is what
still
this
is. Yeah. So it still is what it is, but it frees up the podcast to be this place that's more about talking about making in the realm of 3D printing.
Right.
In the general
Um,
sense.
Instead of like making a logo that was like literally a 3D printer or something.
Mhm.
So
Although having a GIF of it that we use for like a loading screen of it being built, that'd
Yeah.
be dope. I'm just going to put that out there.
that, and
Mhm.
I thought about that from the first time that I was making this because
Oh,
yeah.
yay.
So I settled on like that pretty quickly as far as quickly goes, I guess, because there was a lot of stuff that kind of
Yeah.
happened in between. But and then I added these lines. And while these lines are like really thick and everything, again, this is about representing 3D printing and not being 3D printing, right? So the
Mhm.
lines are just to give people the idea of like, oh, this is a layered M and A. You know, they were built in layers, or there are like sandwich
Yep.
layers of this thing. And it also gives it more distinction between the two parts, and it kind of helps that MA stand out in black and white, which makes it a
Mhm.
stronger image and more quickly recognizable. And so then I started playing with colors, which got crazy real fast. So
Mm.
Can you go
Yeah.
through those colors that are right there in the top right of your screen?
these guys,
Yeah, and
Mhm.
because those colors are special, aren't they?
Yeah, these colors are taken directly from the 3D Musketeers logo. And so I was trying to incorporate those as much as I could in certain ways. And so for each of these, I would just kind of pick stuff that had good contrast or that I liked. And some of them are not good, but I keep them around because I want to be able to just see everything kind of at a glance.
A lot of them ended
Um,
up looking like sports teams.
Yeah, which is hard to avoid because think about it this way. Sports teams chose their colors because a designer made those sports teams logos and things. So when
Yep.
you have
Mhm.
the Denver Broncos, which is orange and blue, there's a reason because orange and blue are complementary. So they chose those colors because they are literally known to be very good working together. And
Mhm.
you have the Vikings, purple and yellow, very good colors to put together. So
Mhm.
like you know,
I
you can
remember
kinda
us
get into
getting
that.
on a call, and I'm on my second screen here, going through all the
You're
Massachusetts.
like, nope, that's the Miami
sports
Dolphins.
teams.
Nope.
Miami
Yeah.
Dolphins. I guess that's right.
That's
There was
right.
one of them that was.
It was the
It was
Hurricanes.
like blue and yellow, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No one's ever called them the Miami Dolphins. Everyone just calls them the Dolphins.
So
That's
you don't have
weird.
to.
Sorry.
I
you
don't live
have
in
to-
Florida, Grant.
Yeah,
you don't
that's
have to
fair.
worry too much about like people are worried that if you do the same colors as someone else, it's going to be a problem, and it typically never is because you'd have to have their exact Pantone for them to have any legal action against you, and that's almost impossible.
I don't think it was the legal action that we were concerned about. It was just we didn't want
The
like, you know,
association.
there was a really pretty one, but it was clearly the Lakers colors.
Mhm.
And
It's an association.
while
thing.
being associated with what is arguably the best basketball team in the nation, actually, according to the trophy they just won, the best basketball team in the nation, we were attempting to avoid that at all costs because, you know, we need to have our own thing. And that's why we ended up at the 3D Musketeers colors because, well, Making Awesome is an extension of 3D Musketeers. And because of that, well, we wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that the brand was consistent across it.
Yeah, and a
Right.
lot of these elements that were used in this logo are actually, you know, also exist in the 3D Musketeers brand.
Yes.
So they are like sisters in that sense. So I'll go into this. This is the first kind of like pitch of this logo. And we have like text down in this corner that just says "Making Awesome," kind of aligned with this M. And it had this like blue and yellow, really electric looking kind of colors. And so then it's when I do logo pitches, it's always just a quick like, how does this live and why?
Ooh, bit of a spoiler for what's coming in later.
Yeah.
Later in the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. And so like icons, we're looking at like scale. How does it look big? How does it look small?
It's so pretty, right? Those colors are nice. But and part of me wishes we stuck with it because I love neon freaking colors. All the stuff that I print for myself is in stupid neon colors.
And see, when I was choosing these colors, I actually had the thought of like, well, if I had a 3D printer out of the box, the colors that I'm going to get are like the gray, and then I'm going to get some crazy ass shit like orange or bright red. And I was like, well, that's fun. And that's like part of the fun of 3D printing is printing things in crazy, weird colors.
Right. We
and
prototype in like crazy yellows and
yeah, and that's awesome. And it's like the cool, you know, we're like trying to say 3D printing without saying 3D printing literally.
Right.
You know, and so that's like fun. It's got, and I think like when I was making this logo, what I really wanted to represent about what I know about the 3D printing industry is like, I feel like people from the outside who don't know or aren't a part of the industry or don't talk to people in it are assuming that it's like this boring, nerdy, like really heavy tech engineer related thing. And a lot of the time, there are a bunch of hobbyists that I know that do 3D printing for just making fun toys. And, you know, it's like a fun, vibrant place to be that's about making stuff personally in your home. It
can be. Don't get me wrong, it can be boring as hell too.
Well, no, yeah, sure it can. But I think the image of it is like someone's going to make a really boring logo for their 3D printing anything, right? Because they're more consumed with like the making parts and engineering and like, and I wanted it to be more like, hey, we're happy 3D printers. You know,
it's
like,
a fun thing.
Yeah,
and it is fun.
Yeah, and so I wanted to be more approachable on that sense of like, yay, you know, we're poppy and like we're modern. Like your 3D printing is this new-ish thing, especially more widespread, especially among, you know, people who are hobbyists and whatever. And so then always show black and white options because we always want to make sure the logo works in black and white. So these are all those.
We chose the bottom would be the bottom left for me, but I guess it's the bottom left for you too. The one that's mostly white with some black line on it, and that's it. I think that's what we chose, right?
I think,
yeah.
Yep.
Which is funny because it doesn't match our actual color scheme, but from a 2D perspective, I think that's going to look better.
I think so.
Yeah. So that's what that guy does. And then that's kind of a spoiler for later, but that's just talking about how this logo is like, you know, they talk to each other. And then just again,
there are the colors.
Yeah. Color sheets, just more and more of just trying to figure out what we want. And some of these were even pulled from like, at the time, this probably hasn't changed, but these colors were actually pulled from the 3D Musketeers website directly. So those were just kind of experimenting with stuff that was more subdued.
Oh, you should have told me. I could have gotten you the exact Pantones we used on the website.
Oh, I got them. I just dropped it from there. I just took screenshots, so I got them.
I got it, man. I don't need you. I'm smarter.
He's resourceful. Come on.
Yeah,
I get it.
So this is actually my favorite color combination, but I use it too much, so I was actually never going to use it. I just put it in there because I like it. Pink and yellow just is a good one. I use a lot of yellow.
Purple. It's pink.
Zoom in on it.
It might be
Enhance.
more purple. It's like a purple.
Lavender maybe.
The way
I forget how much Illustrator is great and the fact that it doesn't pixelate, so actually saying enhance actually works.
It means
like we could get like as close as we want to and it will never lose quality. Yeah. That's why the logo is built in Illustrator.
Yeah.
So we did a bunch of that. And we did like 1,100,000 color options. And then I always like to throw mock-ups in. These are really bitmapped because I saved them out really quick. But then I
that
also
looks so
like
cool.
That was just so cool
embroidery.
because it looks real.
Yeah, it's totally fake, which is really awesome. So doing stuff like that. This is what usually if I'm working with a client, I did this just because I knew I was going to end up showing stuff like this. But this is fun. I'll give you a little trick that I do. If I'm working with a client and I really want to sell them on a logo, I'll put it on a bunch of mock-up material because it makes them see that it's real.
Yeah.
And that gets people really excited, and that usually will sell the logo right then.
This got me pumped. So I'm victim. Absolutely victim
awesome.
to this.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's
I
like
got
really
pumped.
basic psychology. It's like, think of all the swag that we could have with the logo on it.
Yeah.
You know, I would never, there's no reason for us to have swag with the podcast on it. That's ridiculous.
But
and it's funny because none of these actually have the podcast. So it's just as Making Awesome. And I like that because this does allow us to take the brand of Making Awesome and go beyond just the podcast.
It's more of it's an ethos, really.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and I mean, the one we landed on has podcast, but it also exists in the podcast. So that logo has the extra type added onto it for the sake of podcast, whatever. But yeah, basically, this is just a testament to saying Photoshop's very strong. So yeah, and then again, these are when we started getting closer to what we wanted to land on and started doing this double color thing, which I thought was fun, and we could include a little more color. And these are directly influenced. They're not the same, but they do come from the Making Awesome or from the 3D Musketeers logo. And I kept staying away from orange because of the fact that the association almost be directly made with like Denver Broncos. So we tried to go for more reddish, whatever we were going with. And we also, in these versions, added the podcast. And then I think I have even more of when we kept getting closer.
There's even more when you scroll down too, I believe, in this one.
There are more. Yeah. So this is all colors that were taken like straight a few different times from different parts of the logo to try and influence more different logo options. So some interesting stuff came out of this. And this is where we got way closer to what the final option would be. And some single color options, which this is almost a proving point of you kind of want that double color to really help this logo stand out. Even the black and white versions are more standout than these. They really kind of muddle. But yeah, then we finally came to, I think that's the three. I have the final, which is all my files. Oh yeah, it's in Illustrator. Just needed to make sure I knew. Yeah. And then this is the final quick brand look at what it is right now.
Oh, so clean.
So yeah, these that's what it looks like with the colors and everything. And we kind of, what I was really trying to do near the end was add some gray to the colors in general, just to give them a little bit toned down. Because for a while they were really screaming, really loud.
Too juicy.
Yeah, they were really juicy, and it just always looked crazy saturated.
Juicy. That is a terrible.
I say juicy all the time when talking about colors, but
and the cool thing, I just realized it's AM, man, additive manufacturing.
Oh wow, yeah,
it's
my god,
that's funny.
Yeah,
Making Awesome with
is there a way we can rename this and have it be the AM instead of MA?
Yeah.
Like this just hit me, and I look. This proves the week that I've had. Okay.
But yeah, so you can kind of see like what these different versions look like, white and black. Black and white entirely. What does it look like on a dark background? Can it reverse out of an image? Blah blah blah. And all the colors are on there. So if another
it could absolutely work on a black background.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if another designer had to make it or use the same colors and other brand elements, you always line up the colors for someone on like a look sheet.
This is a tech pack, right? So this includes everything that somebody else would need to pick up wherever you left off and be as successful as possible.
Yeah, and typically with this, I'd actually make like a legitimate brand guide, which would say never put this logo within like one making length on each side of this. So you'd actually like set up rules that say don't use the logo this way, make sure that it always sits on like single color images, and they have to be this like you can make like whole 5-page documents that just say this is how this is used, and you have all the information and pieces you would ever need to continue this brand successfully based on what I did as a designer.
Yep.
So that's what I typically do. This is like a really quick, this is actually more for me. But if I did
That's
like
fair.
an official one,
the likelihood of myself or Tad or quite frankly anybody other than you even looking at this is slim to none, because up until now I had no idea you even had that done. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's for me, right? But
which tells you the importance of it to me. And see, this is what I liked, right? Part of this rebrand is not just because we needed it, but it's to see what it's like from a customer standpoint. Because this is now a service that we want to offer to the inventor market that comes to us. A lot of the business market that we deal with, they've got their brand and they're likely not going to come to us and talk about it, right? But, you know, the inventor that makes a product, they don't have a brand. And for me to understand what it is like to come from, you know, Making Awesome, we were what, like 5 episodes deep before Tomas came on.
Yeah.
And you know, now we're at almost 10, right? We've hit almost that big mark of 10. It gets us to a point where, well, hey, hold on here. We need to start taking this seriously. And for me to experience it from a customer standpoint, I now know what we could expect from Tomas when he's working with our clientele as well. So this is multifaceted here. And it's been a lot of fun. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been a lot of frustration for me personally because like Tomas said, I really prefer that we do a dual color logo, like, you know, the M and the A, the same color, then the lines underneath it be something different than with the black outline. And I'm like, no, I really like the 3-color. Tad agreed with me on the 3-color. So yeah, it was 2 against 1. We went across it. And of course, it is the 2 people that don't know a damn thing about branding going against the branding experts. So, well, but in a real world, that's not uncommon.
Right.
Well, no, that's, you have to like, the thing is, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's your logo.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
I'm here to make it happen. And I typically won't ever do anything that I don't like entirely. Are there ways that I might have like done it on my own? Yeah, but a lot of the times that's not good either. You know, you need the input from everybody, because at the end of the day, you're also the ones that are looking at it. And if branding people were the only people that looked at brands, then everything would look a lot different, because we'd just be like, you know,
right.
We'd just be trying to one up each other and impress each other with weird ass bullshit all the
Eventually,
time.
It would just be like a circle and nothing else.
And stuff would just get crazy. Yeah. So
and like super minimalist and weird.
At the end of the day, you're closer to the consumer of this brand than I am. And so the input from people that aren't branding experts, the input from people that aren't branding experts is really valuable a lot of the time, and it needs to be listened to.
And I agree. And that's, I know in some instances, right, a company's going to come to you and say, I've got everything I need. I just need you to kind of clean it up, make it right and all that. And sure, that's well within your range. That's actually what we did with 3D Musketeers. Said, all right, we like our old logo, but it's got some downfalls, and we want to try to avoid these pitfalls as much as physically possible, and do our best to make this happen. With this one, I said, you know, I don't really know where I want it to go. Honestly, I was happy with the way it was before. So I said, you know what? Have fun. And so we get to see the difference of you're starting with somebody else's work and you're making it more brandable versus starting with nothing and building it from scratch, but understanding, hey, we don't really want like an icon, like how 3D Musketeers has that 3D wearing the Musketeer hat. We don't want something like that for Making Awesome. It needs to be very clear, typefacey, and something that's recognizable at a distance. Whereas at a distance, a 3DM logo likely gets a little blurry. This is going to stay consistent. So
real quick, let's talk about the font, because I don't know if people are aware of what font this is.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
The actual word says Making Awesome Podcast. Yes. Yeah, Tad, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So this is Awesome Font, which is a open source font for 3D printing.
And CNC milling and laser cutting.
And
It was
CNC milling.
originally developed for laser cutting, but go ahead and talk about why. I think
Well,
you know why.
it shows up well, and the widths are always gonna show up whether you're cutting it with a mill or laser cutting it or 3D printing it. So things aren't gonna sort of like a lot of the times you'll lose like the little part in the E.
Yep. Where it
so
curves
this is,
up, and it can sometimes look like an O or a lowercase a. This font,
the gaps are all set to be adequately spaced.
And I remember when I first told Thomas, this is the font that we want to use, and he looked at me and said, "Oh no, I don't like this font."
Well,
it's like
but over time it grew on you.
Yeah, it definitely grew on me, because at first there's still some things that I'm looking at it now that I should have fixed, but
what do you mean?
I can fix that later. The P and the O are really far apart naturally, just the way that you type it out.
You can bring them together.
And I would personally fix that. Let me zoom in for you. So I can actually, let's fix it live really quick. So kerning is important. Yep. And sometimes you don't get really good kerning out of the box with a typeface because they're spaced out for whatever reason. Like this P juts out quite a bit, and so now we have this really awkward gap right here. And so I would probably just go in and manually fix it just a little bit.
That looks good.
Yeah, but now this is too close. So you kind of just got to play the game, and it can take a while. But.
And see that's important. See, I love the kerning of the A and the W because their angles are identical. And this is the thing with Ossifont, right? All the angles are the same. They're angles that can be made with an end mill on a CNC machine. They're angles that can be made with a laser cutter. And the thing with laser cutting is you have some burn, right? And
the curve.
I mean, I guess I can show this real quick. This is one of our old fonts that we used to use for our business card. It's up on the screen here. Let me just make sure it's readable. But look, if you're over the age of like 45, you're going to struggle to read that. And so Ossifont takes out that guesswork, because even literally yesterday, I'm looking at you, Mike, Mr. Spectrum, sent us a wonderful Thanksgiving card. But it's Musketeers. He put an A in Musketeers,
oh my God,
not Musketeers. Like, dude, we worked together for so long. I laugh because he's seen the logo. He's gotten invoices from us. Nope. Spelled it wrong.
Amazing. Yeah. So
and it's dumb things like that, right? And I promise that is because of the font that we chose to use. We used what is literally called Musketeer font when we designed 3D Musketeers initially. And 3D Musketeers was designed by a 3D modeler, someone that has an art degree but specialized heavily in 3D modeling, not heavy in the 2D stuff. And he's great for 2D, don't get me wrong. Phenomenal painter and digital artist. Has an amazing, I'm assuming it's a full sleeve by now, but an amazing half sleeve tattoo that he drew himself.
Yeah,
and it's gorgeous.
Well, that's once we get into the 3D Musketeers logo more, like I said from the beginning, I always thought it was good. There was just things that I would do for branding purposes that are different.
Printing one right now.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's
the file. I found our old file.
Then we can kind of go into, I'll just show you this. This is like brand extension. So kind of, this is what we have on the stream right now, just built out.
No, it's not. It's actually, go over one to your right.
Well, yeah,
yeah, it's that one.
Well, yeah, we have this background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the background we're using.
So the whole background is actually one of these really early ideas. It's all made out of the MA.
I love that step and repeat. I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's really subtle.
It's so cool.
So it kind of has a gradient to it. So
oh wow, you didn't even like put a blur on it. It just kind of does that naturally.
Yeah,
because the colors are so close.
Well, it's because there is this is actually just a white layer.
Okay,
I can show you the difference. And this background is a gradient. And it just kind of sits on top of it, really low opacity. But yeah, so that kind of just got made, and I tinkered with that for a while, make these little boxes. And
It's funny because I've got the same thing on both monitors. I got Streamlabs OBS over here
Yeah.
that's doing all of our recording to hopefully make it look pretty. Then I've got Zoom, which is what we use as our recording, like to set everything up. And so I've never looked at this all that much, right? We've spent the last few days really dialing in Streamlabs. Did a recording yesterday, did not have any audio on it. Thankfully, we had our backup from Zoom. But and oddly, you're gonna hear that one after this one. We recorded them backwards just due to guest availability. And that next episode, boy, one of the most interesting stories in this industry. I think if you have a love for 3D printing and have a love for making, this next episode, you're gonna really like it. You're gonna really like it. Anyways.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not too much here.
Dude, that's the new cover art.
Yeah, or will be. Yeah,
I've never seen
like
it.
That.
That's so
good.
cool.
Well, it's a yeah. I mean, that's good. That's great. We're doing
never
it.
Seen it.
We're doing it live. Yeah. So it would be something like this. I don't know if I'm totally sold yet, but as far as like layout and stuff goes, it would be like something along those lines, which I think
I
is
would
fun.
guess that we want to stack the episode number and name because the name is generally pretty long.
Yeah. So those are the kinds of things that we'd have to, tinker out. But I mean, that's generally, we're just using the same assets from everything else, same
Right.
fonts. This font is the same that's being used up here, but it's just 3D, so it kind of looks a little different.
Do we
Skewed
want
a
to
little bit.
continue using Ossifont instead of that same? Well, I guess. I mean, I
We
don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, we super can. It just depends. Again, more things to kind of work out. This was
We're
just a
literally in
quick-
the middle of this right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just a quick draft, but yeah, so that's kind of what that M looks like normally. And I actually think this is bold. So yeah, but yeah, so these are this, and this are all the same font, but
Interesting. So interesting.
yeah, so that's kind of fun, and just making assets, and like these are the different gradients that I was using, so you can actually see those if I wanted to go into one of those. That's kind of what
and that
looks like.
well, now it's covered now, but that MA with the Making Awesome podcast in the square, that's going to be our new podcast logo. So when you're looking for podcasts on your favorite podcast platform, be it Google Podcasts,
This is
Spotify,
what you're gonna want.
Apple, that's what you're now looking for. You're now looking for the blue with the M and the A and the black Making Awesome podcast, not the orange and gray and black that I had. Man, I thought I had something nice, and it wasn't.
Grant, you
bad.
were working within your abilities.
Right. This is just, truly,
Don't beat yourself up.
I'm not, right? This is more of just me seeing what it's like because we've never worked with someone that does branding before. So we never had that experience. Now to see it is awesome. Yeah, and so the nameplates, so the white areas, that's where we put our videos, or where I try to line them up, because I'm not the best at it. I'm actually really not good at it. But
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
I try.
No, you're doing a great job, Grant. But yeah, so like if we were gonna,
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
it's funny because I built this in Illustrator first, and then we can like put whatever we need into
Did
it.
you just
so
take a weird screen cap of me?
yeah, and then we
When
just
the
put
hell did
that
you
in
do
there.
that?
Just
Literally,
now.
like just now, we did it live.
Oh, God.
So yeah, and then that's pretty much it. And then that's how we have a layout for. a
Thomas,
podcast.
do me.
Okay. Hold on. I had to go around to the other screen. There we go. Wow, horrifying. Yeah.
Terrible.
So yeah, then we have like Grant. I'm really fast at hotkeys. My roommate came in the other day and he saw me working on stuff, and he's just like, "So, is your greatest strength hotkeys?" And I was like, "Pretty much."
Yay.
Yeah. So these obviously aren't like the perfect size, so we'll just stretch it.
No, Tad goes next to me. You're below me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Know your place.
Honestly, the only reason I did that is when I was setting up the screen captures, that's how it went.
Yeah.
The second screen capture that it grabbed was Tad. I'm like, oh, okay, guess Tad goes next to me.
Yep. Yeah, so that's how that goes.
Basically.
Yep.
I love
really
it though,
good.
right? Because every Oh, I didn't know we're getting Rick Sanchez over here.
Thomas, you haven't put your mustache on.
Where are the hotkeys, Thomas? I need to see the hotkeys that you're clicking.
Those are I'm not clicking any hotkeys.
No. You need to draw the hotkeys that you're clicking in your photo, right?
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Tim.
Yeah. And that's how you do it. That's how we make logos. So if anyone was wondering, that's how the magic happens. Yeah. So, and then we put that into Streamlabs and all that extra jazz. But
we were gonna go with the orange and blue, but we thought that might have been a little too bright. That's why we decided to go.
Eyes,
we decided to go with the blue because we'll get those subtle accents of the nameplates. Oddly, I don't actually have nameplates in what our viewers are seeing. Because I don't have a way to make them smaller, and if I do, I don't know how to do it.
Yep.
So they don't have nameplates for this, but whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think us on camera is the main focus of this. I think the main focus is more the content. So when we go back to it, whether it's a 3-piece of just the boys, or a 4-piece and we have a guest, or hey, we can get that what was that 6-piece for $2 at McDonald's. I haven't had McDonald's in 17 years, so I honestly don't know. I don't know what the prices are these days, but we're gonna have layouts so that we can have multiple guests, right? Because the goal is we want to hear from you out there. Yes, you. No, you. Yes, you. Yeah, you. We want to hear from you because you are likely making awesome, and we want to help tell your story. We want to talk to you about it. And coincidentally, you're also going to get some free advice, right? You're going to get advice from a product development engineer, mechanical engineer with product development experience, TAD. You're going to get advice from a 2D designer, branding extraordinaire, Thomas. And then I'm probably just going to sit here and complain the whole time or something. Who knows? But there's me. I guess I give okay business advice, you know. I'm not going to give you investment advice. That's going to be terrible. But business advice I can generally help you out with, and market viability stuff. And that's what this podcast is about. But here's the deal. No NDAs, right? Because we ain't doing one of these if there's an NDA, because then we can't show it off, right? The goal is if you're getting stuff for free, we got to benefit in the content. So we're excited. Oh, look at you doing the 6-piece. That is going to look pretty good. Are you going to spread them apart a little bit? Oh, you're going to move the MA to the bottom. What's up?
Yeah.
I don't get to watch this stuff happen real time, which is funny because we actually do live designs for our customers. And I'm jaded to that, right? I can look away and I can listen to what Tad is doing.
And
I know the keys that he's pressing. I know, like, you know, we were talking about shelling a part earlier, and I was working on a printer, and he's like, "Well, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. You're the expert. I have no clue." And we found out it was a fillet problem, which I guess we probably should have thought of. But
yeah, it once you make it
fillets
too
are the last
complicated.
thing, right? It's fillets are like Frank's Red Hot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but see, the thing
Put
is,
that shit on everything.
If I can fill it and then shell, it makes it easier for me because it does all the inside fillets for me. But it wasn't taking it, so.
And you know, look, that's the game with CAD, right? Sometimes CAD is all up in your business.
It's very temperamental.
Listens, and sometimes it is incredibly temperamental and problematic. So, yeah, it's interesting.
At least we're not using Creo. That was.
We're not masochists, okay?
No.
Now, look, if you are a masochist, you know, hey, look, that's on you. But when it comes to business, we are not masochists. Although, as a small business owner, I guess there has to be a little bit of masochism.
I was going to say,
right?
Grant, what are you doing to yourself?
Yep.
Slowly destroying my mental stability, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, look, we're happy with where we're at. Even given the times, we've brought on so many cool people, right? Thomas being one of them, to come in and hang out and make awesome. Like, we just brought on effectively 2 new designers in the past couple of weeks, which I know, Tad, you are so excited about.
I am.
But, you know,
I
we have
am
to.
very.
Is there anything else on Making Awesome, or are we able to transition?
I think we can
We
transition.
can switch to 3D
Let's
Musketeers now, I
freaking
think.
do it.
All
So,
right.
3D freaking Musketeers.
Let's...
Your background was different. Oh, no, I guess it wasn't different earlier.
It changes.
Okay.
So you're right. You're not crazy.
So let's show them what we have now.
Okay.
Oh, we don't have it. Oh, those are your hand drawings. Okay.
Yeah, some of them.
So I guess let's step back a minute and talk about why we're deciding to also rebrand 3D Musketeers, right? Because we're not changing the name, we're modifying the logo. I think changing it is even a little bit rough. I think we're just modifying it. Thomas, can you talk a little bit about why we opted to make this change? And Tad, if you want to jump in too, please do.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's mostly just a there's a few things. So original 3D Musketeers logo, as I've said before, is good and it's cute and it's fun and it's recognizable. So we're already hitting a lot of the marks and the color is good. So all these things are fine, but there's a few issues that when we're looking at like branding of something and how we're extending a brand onto different things, that it starts to have problems and break, which is like it's less readable if it's small. The supporting text for it needs to be always with the logo so that we can establish a brand identity and an association with an icon. And it starts to break down when we're talking about this logo does not and cannot work on full color images unless you gave it a like stroke, which would look kind of hokey. It doesn't work in one color. So there's
Can you describe what a stroke is? Because the only stroke that I know is one that sends you to the hospital. So what are you talking about when you're talking stroke here?
So I have this thing right here. Yeah.
Yep.
And so, well, actually, let's do it with this like trace. This is almost a direct trace of this logo.
Okay.
So we can kind of get the idea of it. If I'm going to add a stroke to this because I want this, let's say this is like, if this is white, we're going to flip that. If this is white and I try to put it on this white background,
you can't
worky.
No, yeah, it's obviously not going to work. But the only way to make it work would be to give it a dark stroke, which is just an outline.
So why don't we just call it an outline?
Because it's not just an outline. There's a lot of things that strokes do that aren't just outlines. But it's also a pen. It's also considered a pen stroke. So this is also a stroke, like a stroke of a pen.
So if you did like hatch shading or something, those would be considered strokes as well.
Those would be strokes.
So when you're working on your latest memoir out of a Starbucks, you do have to make certain when you're talking about strokes that you maybe you use outline instead of stroke because you don't want people in Starbucks to think that you've had 10 strokes in the past 24 hours.
Yep. So if I was going to do that, that was like a
total drag on artists and their writing their memoirs at Starbucks.
Yeah. So if we wanted, if you wanted this logo to work on like a full color image, like say we have a really awesome, sweet picture of a 3D printer printing something in a really great color, and we wanted our branding on it,
just like down in the corner or something.
This would not work unless we made it look like a little sticker in the corner, which for some people is fine. But we're also living in a media landscape that's a lot different than it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so it's kind of also adapting to the time to say that, hey, we need a logo that works in one color, is legible all the time, is super clean and looks fresh and new, because in a lot of ways, 3D Musketeers is like a tech company in the sense that you're making things with technology that a lot of people don't know how to use or have access to. So we need to look like we know what we're doing. And by making a logo that's more clean, concise, legible, it gives that sense of being professional to it. Not that this isn't a professional logo. Again, like I've said over and over again, I actually really like this, and I have from the beginning. And the reason we're adapting it and changing it isn't because it's not good. It's because it needs to live on so many different surfaces that we need an adaptation of it to help
it needs refining live. Right? As our brand as a company refines itself. Refining your logo is a good move. And look, coming from a business owner that has been used to this logo for the past 6 years almost, this is not easy. It's not easy. You know, it's my baby, right? It was made by one of the original managing partners of 3D Musketeers, right? One of the founders, if you will. And it's not easy for us to move away. And part of me's like, I need to reach out to Phil, who is the designer of this, and kind of get his, get his
Blessing.
Blessing, right? Or his tip of the musketeer hat, if you will, that he's okay with this change. I probably should.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still gonna do it, but
Yeah.
I think that he will understand that logo, we made that in 3D. We captured an image of it. He drew it, and then that's
Like, drew
actually
over it?
all hand painted. The drawing, what you see there is a real hand drawing off of a 3D model that was screen capped, turned black and white, and then colored. He went through a lot of steps, but he wanted to make sure that the colors that we used were actually legitimate, that you could use them, right? Because what you see in the full color industry and what actually comes out are two different things. So,
Right.
anyways,
Yep.
I love those sketches, right? It just shows,
Yeah.
it shows that progress.
I'll show you more too. So like this is one of the logos that I actually started on paper initially. And so I work out of a sketchbook. This might be kind of small, but it's just to give you the idea. So everything comes out of a sketchbook. I tape things into the sketchbook that I've worked in other sketchbooks. And a lot of this is all on
It's like you got a freaking
paper.
burn book full of.
Yeah. So a lot of it's actually on tracing paper, which is a designer's favorite paper, because we can make a bunch of different sketches based off of previous iterations. So there's even just the bill and trying to get the right curve of the bill on there.
Is it on Capitol Hill?
Yes. And then I actually took that into now that this is official, I can actually talk about this. This is the first logo that I've made and illustrated using Illustrator for iPad, which was actually in beta, that I was on the beta test for while this was going, but has been announced and has had a full release since. So that's kind of cool. So I was able to actually technically hand draw a lot of these options based on what I had drawn. This is like the earliest of the early options of me trying to figure out how this is going to look. And a lot of like the feather and the cap and trying to figure out how that was going to work. And that needed to go through a lot of simplifying. And I won't go into too much on all of these because there are like 1,000 billion options here.
And I think those of us that just get a logo from like 99 Designs or whatever, we don't understand what goes into it. And look, this is not a 99 Designs logo. Let me put that out there. This cost considerably more than that. But the quality, the attention to detail, the time, the effort, the energy is all considerably higher as well. And it shows. It shows in all the work that Tomas did. It shows in all these different progressions. And I haven't seen half of these because he said, no.
Some didn't make the cut.
We wanted to show it to everybody here because it's kind of an important one to understand, right? Because we're looking at all these different sketches now, digital drawings of different styles of hat. There are some really weird ones in there, although not as weird as I thought. You know, there
lower
are
right
ones
is
that,
interesting.
Huh?
The lower right one is interesting.
Right, I was looking at that one too, where it's all it's like it's an L with a trunk. Yeah,
the brick.
Honestly, that's not bad. It's weird.
Not. It actually looks good.
Yeah, I mean, if this was in the same, if that kind of had similar style, then I would be okay with it. But it needs something. It needs to be a little different.
Oh, sorry, my back is not doing great today.
Yeah, it needs like something.
It needs a little more curvature. It also kind of looks like
I didn't know the hat was having a text bubble. We were at the same thing.
Yeah.
Look, Thomas, we've abandoned it. It's fine. You don't have to make it look pretty. We just thought it was different.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just like, this was one that I was trying to make work, kind of, but
Kind of.
yeah, it's a weird one. But yeah, so I mean, you go through a lot of different options, and like I tried 3D type with it at one point just to see what that would look like.
I'm glad we steered away from that. It didn't. It's not
And-
bad, but it won't look
Yeah.
good on other mediums.
And a lot of the
Yeah.
time, these sketches are like, my philosophy is you got to throw some of the craziest stuff at the wall first and then see what
Yeah.
sticks, because that's how you get some of your best ideas, as well as you have to work out all of the really bad ideas. So a lot of these sketches, I hate them a lot. even while I was making them, I didn't want to make them, but they were in my head, so they needed to come out.
Does it
If
pain
I-
you to show them to the entire world right now?
No, literally not at all.
Okay.
I think that sketching and having people like treat sketchbooks and things like they have to have good drawings, and my sketchbooks have no good drawings in them, because that's not what they're for. You know, I'm sketching, you know, I'm ideating, I'm thinking. I'm not necessarily ever making a final product until I'm at a point where I think I have something that could be a final product. So like this
Right.
hat never made it past this point because it looked too much like a bowler hat. So I killed it early. Did I get elements from it and did I learn something? Yeah, I learned that this little swoop was really sexy and I wanted to keep it. So I emulated that
sexy,
through other
for sure.
designs. And it stayed in a lot of designs and still stayed in some of the more new ones. But yeah, let's get into the ones that actually made it to Grant at one point.
Mm-hmm. I saw that one.
Yeah. So all of these you would have seen. So this is a presentation that I would give.
Oh, okay.
And that I did give. This is showing scalability.
And mind you, you started showing these just to me. And I said, no. Tad needs to be in on this too, because look, Tad is not an owner, not yet. Tad's skin in the game is simply the hourly wage that he makes when he works with us, right? That's Tad's skin in the game. But for a brand to work, there's
Dog.
Bailey. She's got skin in the
Bailey.
game.
Yeah, she's trying to get me to throw for her.
You
want me
can
to
throw
throw
for
that
her
toy?
a little bit. She just wants to play.
Want me
But
to
you
play
know,
with you?
the entire team has to kind of feel the same way, right? And if I'm the only one that likes it,
Give me that toy.
then that rebrand isn't good, right? Because the rest of the people don't get that same thought. Like, we are literally split right now. I like one
Yeah.
style of hat. Tad likes the other.
like
Thomas
the one with
did
the
a
straight
focus
brim.
group, and it was basically dead nuts even.
It was basically dead even. Yeah.
And so what we're going to do, if I can figure this out, if I can't figure out, it won't be down there. We're going to show you guys at the end the two potential logo choices that we have for 3D Musketeers, and we're going to let you choose. I know I can do it on Facebook. Maybe we'll do it on Facebook.
Yeah.
To be determined, but we're
To
going to
be
have
Just put up a poll.
continued.
yeah, put up a poll. We'll decide which logo we want to use, and we'll just go with it, right?
Yep.
You know, let them eat cake and such. But this was definitely one of the earlier designs, and I said, man, that's cowboy. Where's Hank Hill? Because this is cowboy.
Yeah.
Bummer.
There's a lot of things that kind of went into, like, you know, it's hard to do this because you're working to make something that looks like the original but is also not the original for a lot of reasons.
Right.
And so it just needs to like carry that spirit of that first
Mhm.
design. And so, you know, I was going through options trying to simplify this hat. And, you know, as an illustration, everything I like this except for the feather.
Yeah, the feather we didn't like. The hat I wanted to kind of smooth out a little bit. Then we came to this one. We haven't changed the text yet, so the font is still. What font is that?
I actually don't know off the top of my head, but I can tell you. That's Gotham. And yeah, so I was
Where is
using
she?
fonts that are more like more kind of techie at
Right.
first. But later it was actually really nice because Grant wanted to have something that was more fun, I guess, which was nice. These I absolutely despise. I actually don't even know why I showed you those. And
These
so
elements.
yeah, those were just like ideas previous, and then these were like sketches and early
I
stuff.
remember seeing that and being absolutely floored. I didn't know this process involved so much time, right?
Oh yeah.
Because look, the last logo that I paid for was a logo for a former company, and we did it from 99 Designs, and I had it in 2 weeks. and I didn't hate it, but it was very clearly a rip of a Samsung Galaxy logo.
Mhm.
But it worked. I didn't care. It wasn't about brand recognition. It was about the crap we made. And
Yep.
that's where we were wrong. It was a lot about brand recognition and what it meant. So for this, to see Thomas go through all that work, I'm like, oh, okay. Because look, the discrepancy is a little bit different, right? We start logos that includes all of this at $1,500. So you look at what 99 Designs is at $99. We're at $1,500. There's a bit of a price discrepancy, but it's
a worthy investment.
Correct. And until I saw those sketches, I'm like, dude, there goes a ton of money. Forget it. I'm going to get back garbage, right? But no, this is clearly an instance of you get what you pay for. And from a business owner perspective, right, I had a hard time understanding what this is worth. And this is why we're doing this. I want people to hear that I struggled with how expensive this is because I didn't see the value, because I've been led astray. I am exactly a victim of what we yell at our own customers for doing, where people come to us and say, well, I can get it done on Upwork for $5 or Fiverr. Go ahead.
But you don't want that, because
you don't, right. There's no relationship.
Right. There's no relationship. There's no thought put into it, or like not enough thought put into it. Thomas is going through basically all the hoops here to figure out a good direction for it. And that's the thing. So a logo isn't forever, as we know, because we're changing the old one. But you want to get it right as much as you can, because until you decide to change it down the road, that will be your logo for however long you use it. So,
and it's been what, like 5 weeks maybe total?
Yeah.
Because we pre-recorded both of the branding episodes. We actually did them one after the other in 2 days. We did them over 2 days when Thomas was at Tad's. But I think we had like 3 weeks of backlog content before that went up. So the listener and the viewers might think, well, hey, this happened in 2 weeks, because I think I think we had one episode in between this. I think so. So we had our first branding, second branding, which were over the course of 2 weeks. Then the third week was what is 3D printing, and now there's branding follow-up, right? The branding part 3 or something. I don't know. We'll have to come up with a cool name for this. But
I think it took a while. I think we were close to 2 or 3 weeks. The stuff that takes a while is the conversations before, and then kind of finessing into it. So the actual like time is probably comparable to like 2 weeks, especially if I don't have a bunch of other work going on at the time or whatever. But
plan a month, right? Plan at least a month, because, and this is what we're going to tell people, right? Under promise, over deliver. If we can get it done in 3 weeks, great. But if for some reason something comes up, like, I don't know, the owner of 3D Musketeers is in the hospital for 10 hours unexpectedly, because that totally didn't happen 2 days ago. And we had to reschedule the recording of this podcast because we were going to do it on Friday, and I was in the hospital. And so we were going to do it yesterday, but a bunch of stuff came up. Now today is, I like giving out the dates when we record so people can look at like the history of what occurred. Today's November 11th. No, today's November 8th, 11/8/2020 that we're recording. It's actually, I think we're going to try to make it live the same day. If we can get any editing that we need to get done. Hopefully we don't need to get any done, but this is the thing about branding, right? I've never used Streamlabs OBS before. And Thomas made some really badass overlays. They came as a dot overlay, so they just got thrown on. All the elements were editable. Took me a little bit to figure it out. Lots of Google foo, lots of YouTube, lots of realizing that these YouTube videos could be summarized in 5 seconds of, do you want to know how to crop a video in Streamlabs OBS? I watched a 2-minute video to figure out you hold the Alt key.
Yep.
All you had to do was have the Alt key. That's all that was necessary, right? But no, it had to be more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is a journey, right? It's not just here's money, give me a design. It's a journey. So the people that are looking at you know, our price of branding, because I'm going to have these episodes under that saying, unsure of why it's so expensive, listen to these. And it's going to be our 3 branding episodes so people can see the effort that went into it. We should have been, did we record the back and forth that we had? If we did, we should post it as bonus episodes. But if we didn't, oh well. I
I
mean,
think we did.
there was no less than 2 meetings a week on
Mhm.
this.
Yeah. The
And multiple phone calls, text messages, quick little Snapchats of this idea and do we like it? That's
Yeah.
huge.
But like any project, you got to build in your buffer for these kinds of things. It
And-
can't just
Right.
be, you know, the bare minimum amount of time to do the work, because you
Just
need
the
time for
bare
revisions and
necessities, the simple. Oh,
Yeah. And I mean, the thing
Exactly.
that comes down to it is, you know, that's like it. You have a relationship with the designer, which is really important because you're going to get something that, you know, means more and is more thoughtful in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Instead, like the thing is, you could go to Fiverr and you can get a plenty well drawn logo because there's a lot of people who are very technically skilled. But are you getting like a more in-depth work with someone until it's ready?
Hmm.
No, you know, so there's, you know, issues on that front.
if any of you have
But-
taken online classes pre-COVID-19, you'll know what we mean. It's the difference between posting online at 11:50 at night so you can get that grade for posting in the discussion board versus being on a Discord server or a Slack channel and having that back and forth rhetoric, right?
Yeah.
What do you
It's
prefer?
the nuance.
I mean, I guess if you're there to get the grade, you probably prefer posting it 10 minutes to midnight. But if this is your business, if this is your baby, if this is your invention, and you're treating it like it's an online class pre-COVID, you're probably not the right customer for us, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason it's not cheap. We need you to have skin in the game too, so that when it comes time to take things real and actually get shit done, that you get it done. The biggest problem that we have with inventors, well, okay, there's a few, right? It's that they want the world for no money. And great, I do too, but it's not possible. It's not
Hey, give me that
realistic.
toy.
But the other one
Give me that
is
toy.
that we have
Give me that toy.
people that are not willing to put the money up front, want us to do all the work, and then want to argue the price when we're done. And that's not how this works, right?
No.
You don't set what we are worth. We set that, and if you want to pay it, great. If not, go find somebody else. And look, is it the nicest thing in the world? No, it's not meant to be. It's meant to be real, right? There's a
Right.
reason this costs as much as it does. There's a reason why we wrote a relatively sizable check to Tomas for this, because it matters. And it was something that up until meeting Tomas, learning about this stuff was not something that I ever took seriously, that I ever considered. Or
There's a lot of
anything in
depth
those
here.
regards. Yeah, there is. And I'm going on a diatribe again, and I have this problem. Everybody knows that I have this problem by this point, but it matters. Oh,
It
here we
does.
go. Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun.
Beautiful.
Final
So-
1 and final 2. So this is one of them.
Well, these aren't the finals because the font changed, but
Mm.
these
Oh,
are
that's
right.
right. It did. We're getting
these
close.
These are right before. So these were just kind of talking about, you know, looking into changing that font to be more fun. This is pretty much the finished icon though. With this feather the way that it is.
Yep.
Finally that worked out. And so yeah, this is just like a look sheet of everything.
That's right. I remember because I wanted the M in Musketeers to be capitalized, and we didn't like the bolded Asa font. Although this isn't the one with the bolded Asa font
No,
yet, is it?
that's
the other hat.
Rockwell. Yep, and that's the other hat, and these were the options that we looked at, and then these are what the finals ended up
Mhm.
looking like.
Okay.
So these are all a bunch of different possible use cases.
Can we actually kill the ones? Can we put the two of them up next to each other on the same page? Without, let's kill the bolded Asa font. I think we all agree that we don't like it. Can we put the two hats next to each other on the same page?
Yep.
Because that's where we are, listeners
Right,
and viewers.
that's where we're at. And then I want to kind of talk about those for a minute.
Yep. Mm-mm-mm.
Because like I think you embodied everything that was the old 3D Musketeers. You kept all the vision. No, you got rid of the wrong one.
Nope.
Oh. Mr. Hotkey over here.
Oops. There we go.
Okay, he
I
did
don't
actually
know
get rid of the
what that
wrong
is.
one. Normally I'd say we can roll on this for a little bit, but I might got another 15, 20 minutes in me before I got to get up.
That is okay.
I think we're nearing it anyways, right? We're getting to the
Yeah,
point.
this is the
We're pretty
conclusion
much-
here.
We're pretty much at the climax here.
This is where we need the viewership to give us their input.
Not because we
because-
need it, but because we can. I as the
We'd
owner
like
can
to
say I
involve
like
all of
this
you.
one and I don't care, and I think we're okay with either one of them. We like them
they're
both.
so close.
And the big difference is here, it's the hat, right?
Yeah, it's really just the hat.
We love the 3 and the D. It's descriptive, but it's got a lot of that old style Renaissance touch to it with the
Mhm.
big little bubbles at the end of the 3. The D is there, you know about it, so you're not thinking of the candy bar. Musketeers is clear, it's proper. Maybe people realize there's not an A in Musketeers.
For once.
Mike and many others of you, it's why I had to buy the domain 3dmusketeers.com
To redirect.
to redirect, because so many of you do it wrong. Still to this day, we get people that send emails to the wrong domain. But we love the OS font, right? That was a bad noise. Oh yeah, yes, it was a bad noise. That printer actually did just crash.
Oh no.
I guess we'll talk about this for a minute since it did crash. We are doing
Grant, we can't hear you.
Wow,
Face-
just me turned
Face
away.
your
That's
audience.
it.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, so we are participating in IC3D's Toy for Tots this year. And all the printers you actually see running right now are making parts for this. And this Prusa printer here off to my left is our big modified Prusa. It runs a copper block, titanium heat break, and a tungsten carbide nozzle. And because of that, it's a little more picky on materials. So I'm likely still learning the settings for it. It takes a bit. It's really the printer we don't run very often unless we're running exotics. But it did actually fail out. The whole tail of the dinosaur, the raptor on there is totally missing. How far are we? We're 21% in. What do you think? Do we kill it?
Yeah, I would kill it.
Yeah.
Start it over. That's early enough that you can justifiably, unless you want some kind of mischief.
I'm gonna let it ride and see what happens. Let's find
Okay.
out. If it crashes again, then yeah, we'll kill it. But that's the nice thing about the Prusas. They have that crash detection. Anyways, see, I know the noise. And
Haunts your dreams.
look, IC3D provided us the filament at no cost to do this, and we're providing them the parts at no cost. We're basically using machines that are not being used right now, so there's no client parts running on them. So great, we'll put them to use for much better purposes, right? There are times to make money, then there's time to do what's right. And I like being able to help out charities. Once we get to be a bigger company, we're going to choose charities every month that we're going to donate to. We're going to take, a percentage of our net profit and put it right to this charity because, we believe. And you guys are going to hear about some of that pretty soon. The next episode in the podcast, you're going to hear about a charity that is very near and dear to all of us now. Some onions to be cut. Anyways, 3DM, the hats.
Hats. This is where we are.
So, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'd personally be pretty happy with either of them. So, at this point, I'm just kind of letting it ride. But yeah, I think it ended up being really fun. It has that spirit. It's got character. Yeah. And I mean, again, the thing is, there's always small changes that we can make that are almost unnoticeable or undetectable by people. And so logo's not always, typically forever, like we said.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it turned out nice, and I like it. I really like the plume. That turned out nice.
Oh, the plume's gorgeous. This one's not 3D printable, and we'll still use the old logo for 3D printing if people want to see it.
Well, that was kind of the thing, that this is supposed to more or less work in tandem,
right,
with what already exists, because we want it to be.
You can
almost,
tell the relationship.
Yeah, we want it
Yeah.
to be an extension of that, because I don't want it to totally go away,
Mhm.
because it's nice. Like I've already, I'll say it again. It's
You
good.
like that one? Yeah.
Yeah, it is good. It's just not doing the work that this is doing.
Yeah. And I
Um,
love that one with the vertical musketeers. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it,
really
love it,
nice.
love it.
Look good on a sticker.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I plan on doing with it. I'm going to get a bunch of stickers made so we can sticker bomb stuff. And to our key clients that we think would appreciate something like that, we're going to give them away because it's cool. Personally,
Yeah.
I lean toward the top hat. I know Tad prefers the bottom one. Thomas,
But they both are the same in essence. They
They
do
are.
the same thing. So
they do.
either way,
I dig it though, but we want to hear from you, our audience, our listeners, our watchers, our disciples, if you will. What do you like? What's your preference? And if you say both, no,
get out of
pick
here.
one. Pick one.
You got to choose.
There can only be one. Oh yeah. Oh, that printer's mad. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. No, you're done.
Well, that's our cue, I guess.
Good night, Mr. Bond. Yeah, that's our cue. That's okay. Hey, look, it's a new bed service too that we're screwing around with. But either way, guys, we want to hear from you, guys and gals, I guess, because actually, based on Anchor.fm, we have a female viewership, which for a podcast that's just dudes talking about technology, that's pretty
That's
damn
surprising.
good. So, hello, lady or two that listens to us. We appreciate you. And we're looking forward to having a female guest on here. Actually, I have an idea for one. Well, I know of one that we're going to definitely do, but that one's going to be tough to schedule because she's down under. And that makes the time zones a little complicated.
Yeah.
Anyways, we want to hear from you all. We want to hear how you believe the 3D Musketeers logo should look moving forward. As always, keep making awesome. Have a great day. Enjoy. Call your loved ones. Tell them you love them. I'm gonna keep doing that. You just let people know, man. Life is not guaranteed. Anyways, I'm Grant. I got Tad above me. Thomas is below me. Let's make it happen. This is making awesome. Episode 9. Freaking branding. God, so good. So good. All right.
Well done, Thomas.